Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Tuesday morning breakfast bankroll for August 16th, 2022. Our weekly trip down Route 3 to 93 North, the Expressway, the Citgo sign. Our weekly talk with DraftKings expert Julian Edlow as we go over the full sports board. We talk a little locals, and then we'll dive into some picks, props, leans, futures, whatever Julian has on his desk. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Julian Edlow.
Let's get the Kevin Durant stuff out of the way. You ask me every week.
You read my mind. You know, it was simmering. It stops at simmering. So now he uses the R word, retirement. Again, they are kicking these tires. So what better way to start the segment? Kevin Durant.
Nothing new for me, and I feel like I've been mostly consistent about it. He's pressuring his way more and more into a trade. We knew that Miami and Phoenix didn't have the packages to get him. So now you just add more teams to your list, Boston, Philly, and try to make something happen. I don't think it winds up happening. It's not a bad trade one way or another. Like, you either end up with Kevin Durant or you bring back the team that just went to Game 6 of the finals, adding a Brogdon and a Gallinari, and you're in good shape. So I don't think there's a wrong answer. I was somewhat surprised to hear. I think it was Chris Gasper said that if he had to guess, he would guess that this trade would happen at some point this season, that Kevin Durant would be on the Celtics. That kind of surprised me to hear, because I would lean towards it being a no. But Durant's clearly going to force something at some point, and I think the way that it's going, it might be something that happens in season.
And that was going to be my follow-up with you. All this pushing, all this shoving to want to get this done prior to the season. The thought, what you're saying right now, it makes it kind of hard, because my initial thought would be, if he's not traded, he's going to have a wink injury, or he's going to sit out till he's traded.
He may, and he says that he will. We'll see what happens when it gets there, when the time comes. But yeah, I'm full on. What this means for me now, and translated to sports betting, is just Nets are a full on fade out of the gates if things stand the way that they are. Whether Durant's playing, Kyrie's playing, whoever, what they put on the floor is not going to work until there's a complete overhaul. And when that overhaul comes, then the team's going to you got to re-put those pieces together. So the Nets are in a tough spot out of the gates, regardless of what they're putting on the floor.
And of course, Kyrie all upset because he wasn't in the news. You know, the world is flat, whatever, not vaccinated. Now rumors come out. I don't know if you believe, I don't believe everything I read, but was expecting or wanting a new deal that would allow him to play 60 games or less.
60 games or less, not be required to play in back-to-backs. I'm looking for the same. I think we all are. I want a job where I don't have to work 2 days in a row, and yet pay me in full. No take. Kyrie continues to, push the limits, be different, dare to be different, as he said in his tweet when all he did was accept his $36 million to return to the Nets. This will continue to happen, and we'll see where he winds up. The only market for him seems to be the Lakers, and the Nets don't even want him, but he's under contract.
Well, DK, I mean, we talk about this at length. You always say, hey, if you don't see something, reach out to me. I'll ask. You are the man with the mic. You're the one that gets to headquarters. I've already seen NBA opening games. I've seen the Christmas games. The season's coming out. What do you have, and what does DK already have to offer?
Yeah, DK's got pretty much everything up on the futures markets. There's some teams like the Nets. You can't bet the Nets to miss the playoffs or something right now because so much is up in the air. But for the most part, divisions, miss playoffs. division exactas, win totals, and a handful of the games. I'm not betting NBA games look ahead lines like this, like you would with a football line that maybe moves a lot that you like. It's just there's so many more games that guys sit out or guys roll an ankle and hey, we're not going to play. I don't think you can bet NBA look ahead like that. But I did put out an article. I haven't bet anything personally NBA wise for this season, but I got an article out yesterday with a couple of futures that jump out to me. One of them was the Celtics, who are sitting at minus 135 to win the Atlantic Division, which they won last year by tying the Sixers at 51 wins, but they had the tiebreaker. And that was after an 18-21 start. So after that point, they were a 33-10 regular season team. And like I said, you had Brogdon and Gallinari. I think you're going to be pretty good coming off that finals loss. In terms of the division, the Knicks aren't going to win it. I'm writing off the Nets completely, as I said off the top. Raptors are a nice young team, but I don't think they are a contender like the Sixers or Celtics would be. So I consider this kind of like a Celtics-Sixers head-to-head. And Boston's win total is 54.5. Philly's win total is 49.5. So you're going to give me minus 135 on a head-to-head where we're saying the win totals are 5 games apart. That's something I'm interested in pricing-wise, I think, to get a little bit of value rather than betting an over or an under on Boston or Philly. And I also I think the two other best contenders in the East, it's the same as last year. Philly's in the mix, but I think Miami and Milwaukee are probably the dangerous teams, and you don't have to deal with them in the division. They could be the top 2 seeds, Boston 3, Philly 4, and you're winning your division bet. So that's one that jumped out to me a little bit. And then the other one that I wrote up is the New Orleans Pelicans, who are minus 165 to make the playoffs. I like those odds. Last year, my biggest future was the Pelicans under 39.5 wins, which got there. They won 36, but they started 4-16. They were 16-32 at one point. They got to 36-46 and they made the playoffs despite going under their win total. They won their 2 play-in games and made the playoffs. And that the turning point for them was just kind of getting healthy. They have Brandon Ingram. They have Jonas Valanciunas. They have some good role players, but the trade for CJ McCollum was kind of their turning point. And now you're going to be getting Zion Williamson back into the mix. So that kind of core 4 of Valanciunas, Zion, CJ McCollum, and Brandon Ingram, I think is pretty good. And they have good role players around them. And they were a hot team down the stretch last season. Then you take, the Spurs were a play-in team last year. They have one of the lowest win totals in the league this year. The Jazz were a 5 seed in the West. They sell off Gobert, and who knows what will happen with Donovan Mitchell. I think there's teams that give wiggle room for the Pelicans to be a 4, 5, 6 seed, and you don't even have to deal with the play-in round, I think is their ceiling. But that floor, they'll be in that 7 to 10 if they don't secure a playoff spot, and you'll have them, as a favorite in that play-in round.
Going from here to the other locals that were in action, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, only if you cover. And the Patriots miraculously covered against the Giants. The Giants' late second field goal. Thanks for playing. No Mac, no starters. Some flashes on some, Mr. Zappa and some others out there. I don't know if you watched the game at all, but any impressions? Maybe on the Patriots, if not the Patriots, on your first weekend of the NFL preseason?
I did watch it. And when we ended this show last week, I told you I wouldn't bet it unless we got news on there being an edge on one side. And we did. The Patriots sat their starters. The Giants played them. So I played Giants first half and wound up cashing that. My takeaway from the game is that the Patriots looked like they were doing what they used to do in terms of the offense that they were running. So the offense that has been a mess in all of these reports in camp, which we haven't seen unless you've been there yourself, we're just reading reports and listening to reporters, that offense, zone blocking scheme, whatever's going wrong, whatever's been such a mess, they didn't use. Now, I don't know if they didn't use it because the starters sat or if it just wasn't ready or whatever, but I think this week I really do need to stay away, and I always reserve the right if we get massive news, whatever, the Patriots are going to sit the starters again, and we're going to get Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold in a QB competition type of thing, then yeah, the Panthers are going to be the side. But the Patriots, I don't know if they're going to unleash this new offense that's been looking terrible and have it go down the drains against this Panthers team, and the Panthers just kind of run away with it with Darnold and Mayfield and have a big quarterback advantage in the game, or if they're going to do what they did last week and just kind of play like they did last year and how they have for many years. So I don't know. My takeaway was just that they're clearly hiding what they're running on offense, and the offense that everyone's been so concerned about.
Did I hear correctly that initially they were trying to emulate the 49ers and Shanahan's offense? Is that correct?
I have no idea, but I know that, the relationship is there with Belichick to potentially do something like that. I just don't know why.
I mean, they don't have the mobile quarterback. Jimmy G wasn't a mobile quarterback, so it is what it is. Buying or selling the Damian Harris potentially on the block, the way I understand it is they're not going to pay him. So does Bill run him into the ground and say adios and good luck? Or are you hearing anything? But I'm hearing that potentially they're shopping him around. Would they cut him loose and then go with Jamondre, who they love, and they did draft 2 other running backs as well?
Right. I think that's the thing. JJ Taylor has looked good at times. They drafted strong. They drafted in the backfield, and they have Stevenson, who has shown that he can be a workhorse type of guy. And he was a good player at Oklahoma, played at a high level at a big name school. I think the Patriots would be fine without Damian Harris. I think a lot of teams would be fine without their starting running back, who's not like a Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry. Like, if it's not one of those big names, you can usually just kind of get 90% of that production from other guys. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, but yeah, I mean, what's the return on a Damian Harris? He was a 4th-round pick who's played a few years. Like, can you get something good? If you can, then sure, and use the other guys. If not, would you rather get the other guys prepared, or would you rather, like you said, run Harris into the ground and then let him walk, keep the other guys fresh? I don't know. And the Patriots' backfield has always been a tough one to predict, and I don't think we're going to have an answer until the season begins. I don't think we're going to know what the snap breakdown in the backfield is going to look like until they're playing in Miami.
All right, last local for you. It was a fun weekend here. Actually, the energy was there. You reached out to me on Sunday. I gave you my.
I knew they were going to win that game. I stayed away, but I knew it.
And my words to you was, well, you're going to need a strong effort in the back end. Are you going to get, 4, 5, or 6 from Walker? The Sox win 2 out of 3. The Yankees lose again last night. I don't want to say there's a buzz going on here, but it was so refreshing to watch the weekend series. They took 2 out of 3. They were 0-45 after trailing going into the 9th. They win on Friday. Devers jumps on top of a fastball that was in you or I eyes, just how quick it is. Buzz is now. Buster's saying they're going to offer him something that he can't resist. Are you buying back in, or are you just going to is it a sitting, we'll wait and see on the Sox right now?
I'm not buying back in because I think ultimately they're not going to get there, but I'll say that they can be competitive, which is fine, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs or anything. So now you got all that momentum from a Yankees series. You get a day off. You go to Pittsburgh to face a not great team. You should get a couple more wins here and kind of keep going. So I think that they'll play well enough to kind of create some noise. And ultimately, I think the noise will lead to nothing because that's the team that this is. They don't have it in them to actually get there, but they're talented enough to make you think that they might be able to.
And you talked about the Pirates. I've already talked to our mayor of Vegas, Dave Sharapin. He called me 8:30 my time, which is 5:30 his. He was at the Circa talking to Mitch and Paulie already.
Of course.
He was making
Of
our
course.
reservations for 8 East, Julian. That's what he was doing there, right?
I guess so. Here's a baseball trend for you though that I've been looking at. The Yankees on paper were in a good spot yesterday. Or it looked like a good matchup, and I was thinking about betting them. I didn't. The teams playing on that Sunday night game that have to play on Monday are awful. What are they? 6-15, I think, so far. And teams that have to travel, teams that play the Sunday night game, then have to travel 3-11 on Monday. So just fading that Sunday night team that has to travel and play on Monday. There's a trend for you.
I've been promoting that for the last 6 weeks on the closing bell. And the funny
There you
thing
go.
is, 2 weeks ago,
So did you bet? Did you back Tampa last night?
on our show, I did not though. But on our show, I did give it out on the closing bell. 2 weeks ago, like the Padres had to travel from LA to San Diego. So I said they were going to take a Lyft or an Uber jokingly. But I've been seeing that trend. And don't forget, I call it the ESPN late game because they're traveling. They're not getting out till 10:30, 11. You know how long it takes to board, yada yada yada. That game was over in 2 hours and like 13 minutes. I mean, that and they had Cole on the mound. So I was
Yep.
like, I get it. Anyone wanted to back the Yankees, but that trend is fire right now, Julian. Fire.
It helped me stay away from the Yankees. I wish it put me on the Rays, but saving a loser is, that counts.
Jules, we are exactly 11 days from week 0. And it's not a great slate, but it's college football. And I will already say this: the whole world's on Northwestern. It's fade Nebraska, fade Scott Frost. Uh, do what you please. It opened at 10.5, 11. I've seen as high as 13. We still got a little time. You got any skin in the game yet, or are you still sitting around and watching?
I'm gonna have one week 0 play. I told you I hate this slate. It's pretty bad. Um, it will make up for it on that Thursday to Monday Labor Day weekend card is awesome. Obviously, Saturday's the highlight, but we got some good Thursday and Friday night games, and then we get a Sunday night football and a Monday night football. That'll be awesome. I'm gonna go with Vandy. I have Vandy minus 6.5 against Hawaii. Vanderbilt's not good. Their win total is 2.5, but they're an SEC school and they're capable. Hawaii is just awful. 6 starters back. Timmy Chang, first time head coach. Like no production coming back and 0 coaching experience. I just don't think they're going to be good. Nevada under 5 wins was a win total play for me. I wish I got to write that up. I didn't get a chance to get an article out, and it's sitting at 4.5 now at DraftKings. So I probably won't officially get that out as a play. But if you got Nevada at 5, go under there. And the comparable play is just Hawaii under 4.5, which I am going to get written up and get out there. They play 13 games, and we're playing an under on 4.5. That should tell you a lot on them. They just don't have guys. I don't think they're going to be capable of beating an SEC school. Vandy should win that game by a touchdown or more. And I think that's 10:30 kickoff Eastern or something. So, I'm not going to be sitting around all day with like games going on. This is going to be late night special.
This is a 10:30 Pacific, right?
No.
Nebraska's at 12:30 our time. Yeah, so it's not the classic Hawaii late night Saturday slash Sunday special. I get a kick out of the D-Gens mid-season where you get the 12 a.m. game and it leads into the game.
The thing is, like, yes, that's funny. You have a bad Saturday and it's like, all right, we'll get it back on the Hawaii game. That's always the joke. Until you lose that Hawaii game and then you're really hurting. But the thing is, this year, like, I think Hawaii is going to be a pretty good fade. So like there's going to be some Saturday nights. Of course, they're better at home. So if it's the late night game, obviously they're at home, but I think there's going to be some really good Hawaii fades this year. They stink. And I'm starting off with it in week 0. Not chasing any of the day games. I'm not playing any of the day games, but fade Hawaii.
You talked about week 1, September 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I've talked with the mayor a few times about the Pitt, West Virginia game. That's going to be a hell of a game. We talked about Notre Dame, Ohio State. Any other of those games really jumping off the screen right now? I mean, we're still a couple of weeks away. You seen any value, any edges? Do you have any skin in the game, or something you're just keeping an eye on, hoping to move to the left or to the right?
I do actually, and I don't do this much. I do have Pitt as a teaser leg, so I have them beating West Virginia. I think Pitt's going to be really good this year. I'm down on West Virginia, so I do have them there. The other things that I am in on, and we've talked about Ohio State team total, which I'm just waiting to get. I'm going to bet the Ohio State team total against Notre Dame. 3 games I have bet are I got App State +3 at home against UNC. I think that's crossed 3 and gone to 2.5. I'm down on UNC. I bet the win total under. At home for App State, huge game. I think they're going to win that game outright. You know how I feel about Utah this season. Utah going to the Swamp to play Florida. I got Utah winning that game. I have them +1.5 from over the summer. They're now laying 2.5. Money lines in like the 130, 135 range. I think you can comfortably just go Utah money line still there. And then the Sunday night game, it's a neutral field, but it's in New Orleans. So it's basically LSU hosting FSU. I got LSU -2.5 in that one. I think you're looking at 3 now. So you're on a key number, but I like LSU a lot in that game. So those are 3 right there. Plus a teaser leg and that Ohio State team total. Those are the things on my radar for week 1 right now.
All right. So if we are leading up to obviously Labor Day, we're leading up to the NFL. We're a day-to-day type of guys here. We're looking for news. We're looking for substance. Obviously, key injuries in the preseason, might dictate how your local team or how your board is looking. So as Julian Edlow is getting ready for football season and a big contributor to DraftKings, give the outsiders looking in a day in Julian's, meaning is it you wake up one day and it's the NBA and then you got Wednesday and Thursday for college and NFL, keeping a backtrack of MLB. Is there a certain strategy you got, Julian, on a day-to-day basis covering the whole market? I mean, you are the eyes and ears for us guys. We want something, we go to you, say, hey, Juice, how come or how can we get this? What is your day-to-day outs? How do you create that?
Yeah, it changes. Because, a lot of this look ahead football and basketball stuff, you can kind of just determine what order you want to do it in. So it's kind of a day by day thing. If there's something I want to write up whatever I think has the ability to move the most is probably what I put at the top of my list. Like if I want to write up a win total and I think it's going to move and something else is safe to, stay at the same price for a while, then that's where I'm going to go. So whatever I think has the most urgency is where I'm going to go first in terms of the look ahead stuff. I do usually start the day just looking at the baseball board, even though I don't bet a ton of baseball, see what jumps out, see if there's anything I want to play, see if there's any plays I want to put out. And then from there, go into the football stuff. And, I have a list of what I want to do before football season and say, what seems to be the most urgent right now on that list and go to that. And, what part of that is getting new markets out and recommending new markets to our traders and sportsbook operations team and see what they can get out there. And like I always say, if there's something you want to see, put it out. That goes for basketball as well. I've been talking to some bettors recently and been like, is there anything NBA futures wise or in the NBA market that you want to see that, you think isn't out there. And we just put a lot out for basketball, but more can be put out. And if there's stuff that you want to bet on, tell me. I can't guarantee it'll go up, but I can guarantee that I'll ask about it and we'll see what happens.
Final question, I'll close with this, is you talked about Pitt being against West Virginia. I'm going to translate this into the NFL right now. I was listening to Dave's show. They had a Pittsburgh Steeler expert on their show yesterday, and Gabe asked him when Kenny Pickett will be starting. He says week 4 on Thursday. They play a Thursday night game. They'll give him a 10-day window. I'm actually bullish on Trubisky. My thought process was, you got a year off, you got a clipboard, you were watching one of the best in action for a year with Josh Allen. I'm not buying the hype on Kenny Pickett, which I'm going to go to you because I think he's the favorite or NFL offensive rookie of the year. And I'm a big fantasy player. I got some stake in the game already for some guys that I'm looking at that are not named Kenny Pickett or the high profile guys. Anything from you on that side? Where do you think Kenny Pickett's going to be starting by week 4 or 5? And if so, do you have anyone in the rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year going in right now?
Yeah, it totally depends how Trubisky does, because if he plays poorly, then the pressure's going to be on to play Pickett kind of no matter how he looks. That said, a crazy stat that I saw on Friday, or at least it surprised me, Mitch Trubisky is 29-21 in his career. He was in the playoffs with some Bears teams. 29-21 isn't that bad. And if you got that Pittsburgh defense, you're going to be hanging in games. So I think that it does kind of line up for Trubisky to hang around and be the starter and have Pittsburgh be, a fringe playoff team, which goes against Pickett even playing. So now we have Pickett near the top of the board and he might not even be playing. The rest of the quarterbacks, Malik Willis went 76 in the draft. His over-under was sitting 10.5. Desmond Ridder went late in there. Is he going to play over Marcus Mariota? What this is after a year that we had 5 quarterbacks go in the top 15 and some ridiculous rookie of the year choices, and it winds up going to a wide receiver ultimately in Chase over those 5 quarterbacks. It's just a great year to not take a quarterback for rookie of the year. Pickett might not play enough. Malik Willis looked good in his preseason opener, but Tannehill's still there. I don't think it's going to go to Ridder in Atlanta, even if he played the whole year, which I don't think he will. So, yeah, you're looking elsewhere. You got a guy in Pittsburgh who Trubisky's going to be thrown to, and George Pickens, that just went from plus 5,000 to plus 1,200, I believe, on DK Sportsbook, because he has had such a good camp. He had a ridiculous touchdown catch in preseason week 1. I'm not saying he's the guy. The value's gone there, but this is a year to throw a dart at a running back or receiver that you think is in the best spot. So I haven't bet anything. I'm not going to give you a name. Pickens was just an example. But yeah, don't bet a quarterback, which gives you good value. Find a long shot at running back or receiver that you like and go for it. I won't tell you it's a bad play as long as you kind of follow that formula.
Yeah, and Pickens, we actually drafted him the other night. We got him some decent value on our fantasy team for one of the swings. You're correct. He has lost a lot of value. The other sizzle right now is the kid in Green Bay, Dobbs, Romeo, whatever you'd like to call him. Everyone looking for a piece of the pie in that Green Bay since Devontae is gone, and they got Old Man River there, and they got one starter, Lazard, and Tonyan on his way back. But the boys from SEC country, Marty and Billy, checked in. Good morning, boys. And one of them does say, hey, if Jameson Williams was healthy, he would be a good candidate, obviously, from Detroit for Rookie of the Year.
I know some sharp people that have bet him. It doesn't sound like he's going to be ready for week 1, but that doesn't mean that he can't be in there. I'm a big Jameson Williams fan, obviously.
Scroller's been going the whole time. Julian Edlow, follow him at Julian Edlow, at DraftKings, at DK Sportsbook, at DK Live. Catch his podcast at Unreasonable Odds Podcast. Always a pleasure, Julian. I'll keep you updated what I'm seeing with the baseball. Keep the questions coming, and have a great week, brother.
Beautiful. Talk to you soon, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Take care. the one and only Julian Edlow from DK Sports. Guys, if you're not following him, please follow him, number one. Number two, if you have anything you would like to see and be able to bet, and you're in a DraftKings Sports area, ask him. It doesn't hurt to ask. The only dumb question is the one you didn't ask. He says he reaches out. He does reach out. I've asked him stuff. He's reached out. He's got stuff up there, yada, yada, yada. So please, please, please follow him. Ask away. Again, if your state is a DK Sportsbook, even if it's not, download the app. You can window shop, at least see what they have to offer. They have the biggest prop market in the game, guys. There is just lists and lists and lists. It's endless. The NBA schedule just came out. They already got all their NBA stuff up. So it's good reading material. It's good homework. Please, please do. Later this afternoon, 4:15, 4:30, myself and Riley on the closing bell. If you watched the closing bell yesterday, you got a bazillion nuggets. A lot of them came in yesterday. As Julian brought up, the ESPN Sunday night travel game, again, it hits now. That's all of a sudden all over Twitter. We've been way ahead of that market here at ECSI. So come grab, watch us there. Wednesday, 1 o'clock, the usual Andrew McGinnis from Wager Talk. Thursday, 12 o'clock, Rob B2B beating the bookie. And Friday, 2:30, the one and only Dan Alexander. We'll be talking Premier Lacrosse. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're not already following us on YouTube or Twitch, just jump over there. East Coast Sports Investors. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. Turn on your notifications. You'll never miss a show. So again, from myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, our guest, our weekly guest at 10:20, Julian Edlow at DraftKings. We wish everyone a blessed morning. Enjoy it, and we'll see you later this afternoon.